Coming up on show 611, Harley-Davidson's Livewire struggle, Uniti 1 goes on sale, and the Revero GT starts production. Those stories and many more coming up on today's podcast. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. In fact, wherever you're listening around the world, welcome to EV News Daily. This is your edition for Tuesday, 15th of October, and my name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV article I can find online, whittle it down to the essentials, and it's all about saving you time. Thank you to myev.com. They do help me make this show. If you're in the USA, myev.com, if you're new to the podcast, was an idea maybe 18 months ago that has since blossomed into such a wonderful resource to use. Like I say, if you're in the US, you are lucky enough to have that, connecting buyers and sellers in a safe, secure way as well, but also helping you learn more about EVs, and even these days helping you source the warranty that you need. Okay, kicking off with news today about Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson's halted production and deliveries of its new Livewire electric motorcycle. And I want to talk about this first because there's a little bit of misinformation going around out there on the internet. I know, shock horror. So let's talk about this. They reportedly discovered a problem with their charging mechanism. According to CNBC, the company didn't provide more details on the non-standard condition that was holding up production, but the Wall Street Journal first reported the news, and they said the company told dealers last week it was stopping production to test its charging mechanism. So I wonder what it is. Maybe it's something to do with the fast charging. Maybe it's charging AC at home. We don't know. They won't say. I don't want to speculate too much. If you've got one of these bikes already, has anyone got these bikes? I suppose, yeah, deliveries are underway. So maybe somebody listens to this podcast with a Livewire. Has anyone told you more? I'd love to know. In a statement to CNBC, Harley-Davidson said this, and I quote, "We recently discovered a non-standard condition during a final quality check, stopped production and deliveries, and began additional testing and analysis, which is progressing well. We're in close contact with our Livewire dealers and customers and have assured them that they can continue to ride Livewire motorcycles. As usual, we're keeping high quality as our top priority," end quote. So it must be mind-bogglingly difficult to move from what you've been doing, which is making combustion engines for the last 100 years, to making electric drivetrains. And we are not surprised that there is going to be the odd bump in the road. But there's been some very lazy headlines today, and you know there's a lot of people out there that want to see EVs fail. EVs of all types. And so I saw a few headlines today saying, more evidence it's the death of electric cars, Harley-Davidson giving up on the Livewire. Utterly not true. Doing what any responsible producer and maker of any consumer good would do. They discover a problem, they press pause, they're going to fix it, and they will be up and underway. I've no doubt a legendary company like Harley. But just in case you'd heard other things, it's just a temporary pause while they solve a problem. Let's talk about Jaguar next. Well, Jaguar is launching an all-electric race e-taxi service. What is an e-taxi? Let's find out. They're launching it at the legendary Nürburgring Nordschleife with their I-Pace, their performance SUV. Professional racing drivers are going to take passengers around the world's most famous and demanding circuit in the all-wheel drive, zero-emissions vehicle, and you can be one of them. One lap as a co-driver in the Jaguar I-Pace of the Nordschleife for €149. For that, you get the safety gear, you get your helmet, your balaclava. They even say soft drinks and speciality coffees included. But I'm guessing not while you are blatting around the Nordschleife, unless they want to get all that lovely, nice interior coffee stained. No, €149 for a maximum of 1 to 3 people inside the car. There is even a weight limit on this, I suppose. I did read the fine details. I read the T's and C's. And, it's interesting. So as long as you come under the weight limit, you can, if you want to, hire a professional racing driver to do one lap of the Nürburgring. What is that, like 7 or 8 minutes in an I-Pace? They don't say. However, yeah, for the person that's got everything in their life, if you can't work out what to do with a spare €149, you never know. Somebody might like to do a lap of the Nordschleife in an all-electric Jaguar I-Pace. I quite fancy that. I haven't got a spare €150 lying around, but that would be so cool, wouldn't it? A real experience to reflect upon, an experience, because I suppose you got to get there. You got to get to Germany and accommodation and travel. It's going to rack up pretty quickly, but very cool. It's what they are calling. They're calling the Race E-Taxi. Love it. Good idea, Jaguar. Well, Tesla has decided to reverse some of its online sales only strategy. Earlier this year, we saw them announce that the Staff that were telling you about their Teslas and selling you cars were no longer required and sales were going all online. Pretty quickly they did a U-turn on that, and now they're going to hire more sales and delivery staff. They're going to end sales commission for Tesla advisors, and they're actually increasing the salaries and stock bonuses, according to sources talking to Electric. Well, Tesla is planning to open a new type of retail location as well. These are going to be called Tesla Centers. And they're going to try and avoid some dealership restrictions, and they're going to try and increase deliveries as well. Furthermore, sources familiar with the matter told Electric that Tesla communicated to employees that they plan to hire more sales and delivery people. They're eliminating the commission structure, which was already revised down earlier this year, to be fair. Sales advisors who were the most affected by the reduction in compensation are being told they're going to get between 20 and 40% salary increase as a compensation. Very nice. So they can't make their money through their bonus scheme or their commission structure. And to be honest with you, when I'm buying a car, I don't really want someone who I know, a couple of days before the end of the month. I don't want someone getting pushy or needy with me. Just tell me about the car. I'll make a decision. But, I like being sold to in a nice way. Don't get me wrong. I love great salespeople. I love it when they tell you more about the product and, they're getting their commission. You're getting a great product. But I hate car dealers that are pushy. I kind of avoid them. So, if you heard the stories earlier this year that Tesla closing down all their buildings, giving up their leases, well, maybe they will be changing the way they do it, but certainly they want more people, more sales, more delivery people, and it is certainly a U-turn from what they announced earlier this year. And I think even the most ardent Tesla fan, even the most hardcore Tesla fan, would probably admit that is the one bit of the business that maybe they've made a few missteps over the years. But you got to take the rough with the smooth. Tesla's a company that moves quickly. They take one step and another step very quickly, one foot in front of the other, and just occasionally that has tripped them up. They get it more right than wrong, if I'm honest with you. But good news there. Good news if you want to go along and see a car for yourself. I think it is great. I said earlier this year when they were going to be closing down a lot of their stores, I said earlier this year that I thought that was a mistake. And, again, I'm not running Tesla, so I can't imagine the pressures they're under. But I thought it was a mistake because we are in a process where the hardcore EV fans are pretty much up to speed. And this year, next couple of years, there's going to be the next bit of the curve. The people who aren't EV fans like you and I. And those are the people who need to see the car, drive the car, sit in the car, ask the daft questions that I asked at the beginning of this journey. How do I charge it? How long does it take to charge? What if I run out? All those things, Well, what if you run out of petrol? So let's move on and talk about the Uniti 1. The Uniti 1 is a Swedish car made in the UK. The Uniti 1 is a groundbreaking, what they say, mobility pioneer. And they've revealed the pricing and specs for it as well. Designed in Sweden, but made in the UK, the Uniti 1 is created from a ground-up design. Always meant to be an urban electric vehicle. I think it's the best way I can describe it. Let me paint the picture. It looks like a pod. If I'm honest with you, it looks like a concept pod. The styling hasn't changed from the very early designs that we saw for this. One seat in the front. The seat in the front is in the middle. Think Tesla semi-truck. So one seat in the front. You sit absolutely dead centre. Everything around you. And then two seats in the back of you, if you're the driver, each side of your shoulders, if you like. It's an interesting design. But does anybody want one? I really hope so. Because it's fully optimised for efficiency, sustainability, affordability. 3 adults can travel in comfort. A direct benefit of the car's compact footprint and very lightweight construction is the battery. The battery, the small one, is 12 kilowatt hours, but it'll take you 93 miles on a single charge. The big battery is 24 kilowatt hours, and that'll take you 186 miles, or 300 kilometres, because it's such a lightweight car. 100 kilometres of range, that's 62 miles of range, can be added in 10 minutes on a 50 kilowatt CCS fast charger. The Uniti 1's efficiency is what sets it apart from everything else. 8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometres. So that is 800 watt hours per kilometre, which is just amazing. Amazing. Huge efficiency on this. Weight saving has been the ethos. It's still a pretty stylish car, very high-quality car as well, but purposeful design engineering is the phrase they use. Appropriate use of materials, curb weight of 600 kilograms, perfectly suited for the urban environment. 0 to 30 is done in 4 seconds, 0 to 62 in 9.9 seconds, top speed of 75 miles an hour, that's 120 kilometres. Prices start at £15,000 after the UK government grant for all electric EVs. Really interesting design. I think you'd be brave to buy one. I think it would be your second or third car, and I think you'd really got to want one. Bearing in mind we're at the beginning of this EV journey, I don't know. I really, really hope a company like Uniti can be successful. I hope all these smaller car companies can be successful. I don't want you to have to be, you know, a VW or a Tesla or a big Chinese company to make a successful electric car, one that, you know, turns enough of a profit for the company to keep going. Good luck, Uniti. And from that to this, Aptera is a name you may have heard before, a report in Car and Driver. Aptera, the once bankrupt startup, is now raising money for a fresh start, claiming that its forthcoming three-wheel EV can operate on solar power alone and never needs to plug in. Every hour that it's parked in the sun generates 5 miles of range. Aptera claim 44 miles of range in a day. Yeah, that's if you're in the summer, in California, in direct sunlight. Users can still plug in the car, of course. It has got a plug. They reckon they can do 1,000 miles of range between charges. Designed to be covered in 180 solar panels built into the composite structure. Good luck to Aptera. They've had struggles in the past. I'll pop a link in the show notes if you want to find out more about them. Let's talk about a contentious subject. Hydrogen cars are in many ways EVs. They are electric vehicles. However, the energy source for your electricity happens to be carried on board. People say that hydrogen cars versus EV cars is the battle. Well, you know, hydrogen cars are EV cars. They are powered by electric motors. They have EV batteries on board, but smaller batteries. They just make the electricity as they need it, which goes into the battery, and then the motor gets driven by the battery. So we talk about it occasionally on the podcast, but, you know, I've taking a lot of things with a fair pinch of salt. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association, Hydrogen Europe, and the International Road Transport Union are jointly calling on European policymakers to ramp up investments in European hydrogen refuelling infrastructure for fuel cell vehicles, says Nora at Electrive. They've demanded revising the EU's what's called the Alternative Fuels Infrastructure Directive. They want mandatory targets for hydrogen. They want new financial instruments for infrastructure investment. They want to tap in to EU funding. And they want the EU, the European Union, they want Europe to accelerate the rollout. So there you go. The European Automobile Manufacturers Association and Hydrogen Europe, surprise, surprise, are arguing that there should be a hydrogen infrastructure because without a hydrogen infrastructure, hydrogen cars are useless. However, rather than a car maker going, you know what, we believe in this, we're going to crack on with this, we're going to fund charging stations ourselves, who does that remind me of? They're saying, hey, look, we don't want to pay for it, so the EU's got to pay for it. Someone's got to pay for it. We're not doing it. Well, okay. Interesting. I'm not sure that there's going to be too many people queuing up to spend billions, hundreds of billions, trillions possibly, on a hydrogen infrastructure that resembles petrol and diesel enough to put them in so many places that you can conceivably have a hydrogen car and drive one from point A to point B. There's places in the world right now where people own these things and can't actually drive them because of safety concerns. Hydrogen stations have been shut down. So people in Norway, for instance, that have one, can't drive one. People in California that have one, can't drive one because there's a shortage of hydrogen. It's not a glorious start for hydrogen-powered cars, but maybe for bigger commercial vehicles, I do understand how it makes sense where you can build that infrastructure maybe on the shore for big ships and boats, maybe for planes. Okay, it's about energy density at the end of the day, isn't it? And the thing I like about EVs is I can charge mine at home. And ultimately, I don't have any PV, but ultimately I can have some solar. Even in this country that is cloudy for 367 days of the year, I could still generate my own power. And I like that kind of independence. I like moving towards that version of the future, rather than me going cap in hand to a hydrogen filling station and paying the price that they decide. We've done that, and let's move away from it. Last month, the Karma Revero GT entered initial production at their California base in Moreno Valley, the only car manufacturing site in Southern California. The new generation of Karma Revero, the GT, has 61 miles of all-electric range. That's EPA rated as well, so it's pretty realistic. And an exotic series hybrid that's now powered by the legendary 3-cylinder engine that powers the BMW i8. Congratulations to the Karma team. Revero GT production is now underway. Just to revisit the stats on that, 28 kilowatt-hour battery, 61 miles of all-electric range, 360 miles of total range, because, of course, it's got that range extender, the engine working as a generator, 0 to 60, 4.5 seconds. That's the 1.5-litre 3-cylinder BMW twin-power turbo inline engine. Used to use an old 2-litre GM engine in the old Karma, and it's a dual-motor rear-wheel drive as well. Really fascinating version of an EV, this. I know it's not pure EV, but really fascinating. Here in Europe, Uniti, the company that is backed by several of the big European car makers, Uniti has now got 151 high-power charging sites up and running. At the end of May this year, there were 100 of them. Now they've got 150, and by the end of next year, there'll be 400. They are HPCs, high-powered chargers, 350 kilowatts charge speeds. Now, according to Electrive, Uniti does the installation, but they rely on site owners and operators to host the chargers. Like in Norway, it's Circle K, and in the UK, it's Shell. And they want to realise a pan-European high-powered charging network, just as Electrify America and Electrify Canada are both doing as well. Final story today, and this is from a press release that I was sent from Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz vans and the bodybuilder Kirstner are developing the Arctic Fox. The Arctic Fox is based on the e-Vito, and it's a perfect grocery delivery vehicle in urban areas, they say. It has an electric drive and an electric cooling system, because I've seen versions of electric vans, the refrigerated ones, that still have a generator on the roof to keep the storage of the food cold. Well, that's not going to work at all, is it? We want pure electric, even for the coolers. And food products can be delivered now with completely zero emissions locally. It's an innovative feature that the cooling system is then connected to the vehicle's system, which minimises the need for any more additional batteries. The Arctic Fox has been demonstrating its suitability for everyday use. There's been a pilot project going on with the online meal kit provider. These things are huge news. Have you heard these online meal kits? They're all over the place, aren't they? HelloFresh in Belgium has been using the Arctic Fox, 50 deliveries a day to keep the temperature in the cargo area really chilled out nice and reliably as well. For urban delivery use, it was a perfect trial, and now the aim is to extend the concept for zero emissions. Local delivery of temperature-sensitive products, they call it. Brilliant, well done. This is great news. Bit by bit, we're going electric, and bit by bit, every single day, we hear more good news that just reaffirms a nice little injection of positivity into your day, whatever you're doing when you're listening to this podcast. Right, question of the week this week, set by myev.com. How can we make up for the lost revenue that is coming as petrol and diesel sales decline and there's no more tax to pay on those? How can we make up for lost revenue when we move to EVs? Email me, hello@evnewsdaily.com, or leave a comment on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you to 255 patrons of the podcast for keeping this show going and growing, I must admit, actually. Record month. I didn't mention it because, who cares? It's self-indulgent, but I'll mention it now. Last month, September, a record month for this podcast. Hundreds of thousands of downloads. Thank you so much. And helping to spread the word as well. If you can, I've not asked for this in a while, if you can, please share this podcast with somebody or a group of people who would like to know. If you're at an event, maybe ask them if they'd be interested in the EV News Daily podcast. If you are talking to someone about podcasting, maybe bring this one up. I don't know. Send a link out, share it. I'd be really appreciative. If you want to get any of the archive shows, they are online for free. The new ones come at you if you're a subscriber. It's a free subscription. And if you want to say hi on the socials, search EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day. Catch you tomorrow. And remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.